What if we told you that cancer has a favorite food, and that what you eat could fuel its growth or help slow it down? You've probably heard that sugar isn't good for your health, but what you may not realize is how it plays a much bigger role when it comes to cancer. The connection between what's on your plate, insulin resistance, and cancer might just surprise you. Today, we'll break it all down. Welcome to Levitas. But first, let's talk about what really happens when cells turn cancerous. Cells in your body are designed to follow a natural order of growth, repair, and death. But sometimes this process goes haywire. When a cell becomes cancerous, it loses the ability to regulate its growth. Instead of dividing in a controlled way, it begins to multiply uncontrollably. Normally, damaged cells are programmed to die through a process called apoptosis, which prevents them from becoming a problem. However, cancer cells find a way to bypass this, essentially becoming immortal and continuing to divide. In a healthy system, cells also stick to their designated tissues and don't spread. Cancer cells, on the other hand, invade nearby tissues and can travel through the bloodstream or lymphatic system, a process known as metastasis, where they set up new colonies in other parts of the body. Another hallmark of cancer cells is their ability to fuel their rapid growth by hijacking the body's resources, primarily through high levels of blood sugar, also known as glucose. They need a lot of energy to grow, and sugar is their fuel of choice. Additionally, cancer cells generate their own blood supply through a process called angiogenesis, ensuring they get the nutrients and oxygen needed to keep multiplying. So, what role does sugar play in all of this? Let's dive into why sugar is often referred to as the food of cancer. Cancer cells have an abnormal metabolism. They rely heavily on glycolysis, a process where blood sugar, or glucose, is broken down for energy. While healthy cells can use both glucose and fats for energy, cancer cells are more dependent on glucose. Why? Because cancer cells have a higher rate of glycolysis, meaning they burn through sugar at an alarming rate. This phenomenon is known as the Warburg effect, and it means that even in the presence of oxygen, cancer cells prefer to use glucose for energy instead of a more efficient method called oxidative phosphorylation, which healthy cells use. This makes sugar a crucial fuel for cancer growth. When you consume high amounts of sugar or carbohydrates that quickly convert to glucose, you're essentially feeding cancer cells. It's also important to remember that cancer cells create an environment of high acidity, and sugar metabolism leads to increased lactic acid production, which further drives cancer progression. In essence, sugar is a double-edged sword for cancer patients. It both feeds their tumors and creates a harmful environment that supports cancer's survival and growth. But how does insulin resistance fit into this picture? Insulin resistance occurs when your body's cells become less responsive to insulin, a hormone that helps shuttle glucose from your blood into cells to be used for energy. When cells are resistant to insulin, more glucose remains in your bloodstream, leading to high blood sugar levels. But it's not just diabetes that you need to worry about. Chronic high blood sugar is a significant risk factor for cancer. High blood sugar provides an excess of glucose, which cancer cells eagerly consume to fuel their growth. But that's not the only problem. When insulin levels are elevated due to insulin resistance, this hormone also acts as a growth factor. Insulin stimulates cell division, and in the case of cancer, this means it can accelerate the growth of cancerous cells. Plus, high levels of insulin and blood sugar contribute to inflammation, which is a known driver of cancer progression. Chronic inflammation damages tissues and promotes the kind of environment where cancer cells can thrive. So, insulin resistance and high blood sugar essentially act as a 1-2 punch, fueling cancer growth with sugar while driving inflammation that worsens the disease. Now that we know high blood sugar fuels cancer, let's explore the deeper connection between insulin resistance and cancer. Insulin resistance doesn't just keep sugar circulating in the blood, it also increases the production of insulin and insulin-like growth factor, also known as IGF-1. Both insulin and IGF-1 are powerful growth promoters, which means they not only help healthy cells grow but also support the growth of cancerous cells. Numerous studies have shown that people with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes have a higher risk of developing certain types of cancers, including breast, colon, liver, and pancreatic cancers. Elevated insulin and IGF-1 levels make cells divide more rapidly, which increases the likelihood of mutations and genetic errors, two key factors in cancer development. In insulin resistance, excess fat accumulation around the organs, or visceral fat, also increases, which promotes the release of inflammatory compounds. These compounds can trigger a chain reaction that disrupts normal cell function, further increasing the risk of cancer. To sum it up, insulin resistance is like a breeding ground for cancer. It provides both the fuel and the hormonal growth signals that cancer cells need to thrive. Without addressing insulin resistance, you're essentially opening the door for cancer to develop or progress more rapidly. The good news is that reversing insulin resistance can potentially improve cancer outcomes and overall health. By lowering insulin levels and reducing blood sugar, you can help starve cancer cells of their primary fuel and slow their growth. So, how can you achieve this? The first step is to adopt a low-carbohydrate or ketogenic diet, which significantly reduces your sugar intake. This forces your body to switch from using glucose for energy to using fats, which cancer cells cannot efficiently metabolize. Cutting out refined carbohydrates, sugars, and processed foods is key. Intermittent fasting is another powerful tool. By extending the period between meals, your body has more time to lower insulin levels and blood sugar, giving cells a chance to become more insulin sensitive. Exercise plays a critical role as well. Regular physical activity increases insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells will respond better to insulin and lower your blood sugar levels. It also reduces inflammation and promotes a healthy metabolic environment. Lastly, incorporating anti-inflammatory foods and supplements can help combat the chronic inflammation caused by insulin resistance. Omega-3 fatty acids, turmeric, and green tea are just a few examples of foods that can reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. By addressing insulin resistance through dietary changes, exercise, and anti-inflammatory strategies, you can not only reduce the risk of cancer, but also improve the outcome for those already diagnosed. The link between insulin resistance and cancer is clear, but with the right steps, you can take control of your health and make a significant impact on your body's ability to fight this disease. In conclusion, cancer cells thrive on sugar. Unlike healthy cells, which can use both glucose and fats for energy, cancer cells are dependent on sugar, rapidly consuming it in what's known as the Warburg effect. This makes high sugar intake a major contributor to cancer growth, as it feeds tumors and creates an acidic environment conducive to cancer survival. Insulin resistance exacerbates this situation. In insulin resistance, the body struggles to use insulin effectively, leaving excess glucose in the blood. Cancer cells eagerly consume this sugar, fueling their growth. Elevated insulin levels also promote cell division, accelerating cancer development. Moreover, insulin resistance is linked to inflammation, a driver of cancer progression. Inflammatory compounds from excess visceral fat trigger cellular dysfunction, setting the stage for cancer. So, insulin resistance not only provides the energy cancer cells need, but also the hormonal and inflammatory environment they thrive in. Fortunately, reversing insulin resistance can improve cancer outcomes. Through dietary changes, intermittent fasting, regular exercise, and anti-inflammatory foods, you can lower blood sugar and insulin levels, making it harder for cancer cells to grow and thrive. Thank you for tuning in to Levitas. Please share today's video with friends and family, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications for future videos. Your support is appreciated. It helps us grow and create more content to empower your health. Remain tuned to Levitas for more expert advice on your health and fitness journey. So stay healthy, stay happy, and keep going.